Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, services month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Collin Plume on the line, and he's CEO and founder over at Noble Gold Investments and Noble Bitcoin. Collin, welcome to the show.
Adam, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Exciting day today.
Oh, man, I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about precious metals investing during the current economic climate. But before we do that, I want to give the audience a little bit of a feel for your background. So tell us a little bit more about your company. So Noble Gold Investment and Noble Bitcoin.
Yeah, so we were founded on the idea of giving people education on precious metals. That was our initial founding. I've been in the precious metal space for now almost 14 years. And the thing that I always found is that it was confusing. A lot of the companies out there would make it, the information not easily digestible. Obviously, there's thousands and thousands of coins, rare coins, and all of these things that people can buy. And what we did is we decided to give a lot of education through YouTube, video, online, and really streamline it to products that people are buying and selling every day. So we kind of went through the fat of it and brought people exactly what they wanted in terms of learning about this industry. And we did that with gold and silver, and a lot of people really started to like it. And then about 3.5 years ago, we started to do that with cryptocurrencies. Our main focus is IRAs. Most people that know us, even though we're dealing in a physical metal and we're dealing in cryptos, most people know us by rolling over their IRA or old 401k into precious metals, and that's sort of how we found our footing in the industry.
That's awesome. And let's talk a little bit more about the Bitcoin side of things. So how did you get into that?
You know, Bitcoin is interesting because when you look at the buyers of Bitcoin years and years ago, when I got started buying Bitcoin myself, I realized that the person that likes crypto is almost the exact same person that likes gold. They are an independent thinker. They want less government control. They, especially Bitcoin, they like the idea of acquiring a coin that has a limited supply, which Bitcoin does. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever created. So what I found was that my gold client was also a client of crypto. They just didn't know it yet. They just didn't know about it. They didn't understand it. So again, we wanted to bring more education there and also offer cryptos in IRAs. We were one of the first 2 companies to offer cryptocurrencies in IRAs. And a lot of people say, well, why is that a big deal? The big deal is because if you bought Bitcoin from us a few years ago at $2,000 and it went to $20,000, you could sell that Bitcoin in your IRA and you can defer the taxes. Whereas if you bought that Bitcoin outside of an IRA and you had that huge gain, you would not be able to have that tax advantage. So it's a big deal if you like to save money on taxes, which I think a lot of people do.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's a good transition. So let's dive into today's topic. So investing in precious metals during today's market. I mean, maybe start out with the market update. Lots going on right now in your space.
Yeah, loose money, right? That's the name of the game right now. The government's, with everything happening with the virus, they're throwing money at pretty much all the problems that are out there. And when you have loose money and you have less confidence in our currency and pretty much all fiat money in general, that's going to be a booster for precious metals. And so we've seen gold and silver really spike. Gold actually yesterday broke through its all-time high, which it hasn't had that growth since 2011. Silver is obviously on a historic run too. So we're seeing a reaction to the monetary policies that are out there. And the things that are happening it's not happening out of the blue. This, unfortunately, the virus, this black swan event was the event that triggered it. But economists, billionaires, Paul Tudor Jones, some of the richest, smartest people in the world were buying gold and silver last year in anticipation of this. But obviously no one could predict, what's happening with this virus. But we're in a sort of a perfect storm to move into a safe haven. And that's why gold and silver are really, become an asset that people want in their portfolio, and they almost need it.
And so, there's some people listening to this right now, and they're thinking, they've been considering in the past. I mean, what is typical, because you've been in this space for a while, what's the typical, profile or typical type of person that normally invests in maybe precious metals directly? Because you're doing a little bit different than maybe some of the listeners may be familiar with, ETFs or exchange-traded funds and doing it that way.
Exactly.
They're not necessarily familiar with direct investment. So can you kind of give us a feel for that?
Yeah, and listen, I have clients that own ETFs and stocks, and they buy mining companies, and I'm all for it. But what it comes down to with what we do is it's not a fund, right? You are actually owning the metal, and I think there's so few things out there that you can actually own by yourself. Obviously the real estate is a big thing, but a lot of people don't even own real estate. They buy REITs or they go into funds. This, you don't have all the layers of the funds and the ETF. ETFs, you're still just buying a fraction of gold. You're not actually buying the ounces or the grams that you want. We pull all that back, and you actually are getting the gold and silver that you want. So I think our person that likes what we do are people that want actual real control, that they don't have to trust a CEO of a company. They don't have to, because they're actually buying it and owning it themselves. And the second thing of it is they want a simplified version of what's out there, because a lot of times, you buy a mining company and price of gold goes up and you think, oh, well, the mining company should be doing really well, and they don't do well because maybe that mining company didn't find as much gold and silver that they expected to. This sort of moves away from all that. Gold and silver's moving up, you're moving up, your portfolio's doing great. You're buying bullion products. Most of what we buy or what people buy from us are what the major banks are buying, bars, the major coins of the world that everybody knows. So it's really a way to get into it sort of the simplest way, in my opinion. And obviously that control factor is a big element for a lot of our clients.
Fantastic. So Collin, that being said, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information on Noble Gold Investments or Noble Bitcoin, so two-part question. Number one, what's typically the right type of client that's a good fit to work with your team? And number two, what's the best way for them to reach out to connect?
Yeah, well, first of all, anyone is the right type of client for us, because at the end of the day, no matter what age you are, you're close to retirement, you're starting to save, everybody is the right client, because the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to call and they're going to get free information from us about gold and silver or cryptocurrency. So anyone that calls in that wants to just learn, that's the first step. They're going to talk to a rep. It's going to be a live person, which, a lot of companies nowadays are going away from, and they're actually going to get some free information. So that's the first thing. Second thing is who is the right client? The right client is someone that thinks that they want some diversification. That's a big part of what we do. We do not believe in having all your eggs in one basket. We believe that you should be diversified. And, this is one of the things that you should do, is having some gold and silver or, doing some cryptocurrency potentially. And obviously cryptocurrency, the risk level, and I've said this numbers of times, is much higher than gold and silver. There's still a lot of unknown factors, but for some people, that risk is worth it. They want that risk in their portfolio. They're willing to take that risk. So, I do want to let people know it is a higher risk asset class. But ultimately, at the end of the day, getting the free information is what we do. They go to our website, noblegoldinvestments.com, call in and speak to somebody, get some questions answered. And that's really the first place to start with our company.
Fantastic. Well, Collin, really appreciate you coming on the show today and share more about your background and all the great work that you're doing over at Noble Gold Investments and Noble Bitcoin. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Collin, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam. Have a great day.